Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Tuesday, May the 14th, 2019, 6:56 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So I hope everyone is doing well today. I will not be discussing the Oroville situation anymore. Apparently, people are being shut down. Court injunctions are being issued to have groups not report on the Oroville situation. I have not had anything, but so it's my choice to not report on it anymore. I will leave links below for websites that people, if they would like to check out what's going on, they can certainly do it. I've shown everyone the lake level is still going up. The spillway has not been used. The rain and snow are coming in, and I said everything I had to say in my video last night, and so I'm gonna leave it at that. Like Kenny Rogers says, you gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So I wish everyone the best in California and the other areas that are going to be affected by this huge storm system that's coming in and what is going to happen. And I'm praying for everybody, and I'm praying for everything, for the best thing to happen for everyone. And that's all I'm gonna say. So we're gonna start out with a couple of news items, and then we've got then we'll go into earthquakes, and we had a big earthquake today down in Papua New Guinea. So the first news item I have is from Weather Network. This is from yesterday, March the 13th, and it says iceberg 15 times the size of Vancouver will soon break off Antarctica. Now this is on that Brunt ice sheet. We've talked about this. This is from Monday. An immense crack running through the Brunt ice sheet is inching its way towards producing the next big iceberg to break off Antarctica. Now, of course, it's dark down there. It's their winter time is upon them. So we're going to turn that sound off. So if people want to watch the video, they can certainly go here. So here's this crack moving across, and then we've got this crack moving across. So it's two cracks that are kind of coming up to meet. Compared to Vancouver, it's that size. It's huge, and so it'll cause sea level rise and all that stuff too. City of Vancouver perspective, new iceberg 15 times the size of Vancouver. Alright, so this giant slab of ice, which floats out in the water while still being attached to the ice on land, sits across the Weddell Sea from where the Larsen Sea ice shelf calved off a New Brunswick-sized iceberg just 2 years ago. So if you want to see where that is, let's just pull up NASA World View, and we'll look at the Antarctic. Now this is what it looks like right now, because they're not getting any sun down there. But let's go back. Let's go to April. And I'll show you where this is. Well, let's go to March. Oh, that was the day there was a blackout. A couple of days there was like no data for the North Pole or the South Pole. It was crazy. So here we are. This is the Antarctic, and this is the Weddell Sea right in here. This is the north, south, east, and west. Here's the West Antarctic Peninsula. The Larsons are over here. Oh, and I meant to show you what was going on with this Larsen Sea. This big iceberg that broke off. Here's a pretty good view of it. It's still hanging around, but it's breaking up. You can see it breaking up here. Now here are the clouds that are over it. But so let's come on over here to, here's the Weddell Sea, and the Brunt Ice Sheet is up here, right here. It's this little place right here. I don't know what that is. It's a squiggle. A red squiggle on there. We can't see it very well. There's the blackout. Here we go. Here's a good view. And here's that Halloween crack where it's going across, and here's the other crack going across. So you can actually see it, and this is where the research base, they just took off in the helicopter and left all their equipment and everything behind. This is where the penguins, the little chickies, didn't make it and all of that. So this is the area that we're talking about. So let's go back to our article now. Researchers from Northumbria University have been monitoring the movement of the Brunt Ice Shelf for some time now, and particularly since October of 2016. This is when they spotted on satellite imagery the beginnings of an immense crack now known as the Halloween crack. That's this line. Shortly after this drift began to spread backward through the ice shelf, another crack known as Chasm 1, right down here, which had been dormant for some 35 years, began to spread towards the McDonald Ice Rumples, the region where the Halloween crack originated. So it's headed towards the Halloween crack. It's moving across. So where these two lines intersect is what's going to break off. As of January 23rd, 2019, NASA had tracked Chasm 1 to within about 5 to 7 kilometers of the McDonald Ice Rumples. So here's how far it had gotten as of January 23rd. But we can see how far it was in March. Here's March 16th. It's getting up there. That's as close as I can get in. It's definitely cracking up. According to National Geographic, as of the end of March, the tip of Chasm 1 was only about 4 kilometers away from the ice rumples, and Bert Wouters from Utrecht University in the Netherlands said that the crack was advancing at a rate of about 150 meters per week in April. That's fast. NASA says that when Chasm 1 finally links up with the other two features It will result in roughly 1,700 square kilometers of ice floating off into the Weddell Sea. That's about twice the area of New York City, 3 times the size of Toronto, and nearly 15 times bigger than downtown Vancouver. So there it is. While this is likely the largest ice calving that we've seen from the Brunt Ice Shelf going back to 1915, it isn't necessarily all that big compared to the other icebergs we've seen calve off of Antarctica. For instance, for comparison, iceberg A68 that I showed you, which broke off the Larsen C ice shelf in June of 2017, was around 5,880 square kilometers in size, just slightly bigger than Prince Edward Island, and it held enough frozen water to fill Lake Erie twice over. Then in October 2018, the Pine Island Glacier on the other side of the Antarctic Peninsula from the Weddell Sea shed enough ice to cover Manhattan 5 times over. I showed that in past shows too. While there's bound to be speculation about the impending new iceberg from the Brunt Ice Shelf being the result of climate change in Antarctica, the researchers are convinced it's just a normal process for this particular ice shelf. We recognize that climate change is a serious problem which is having an impact around the world, and particularly in the Antarctic, says this professor. However, there's no indication from our research that this particular event is related to climate change. What happens to the ice shelf after this calving at the moment, unknown in some cases, is at the moment unknown. In some cases, such as when there were similar large calving events on the Larsen A and B ice shelves across the Weddell Sea, the rest of the ice shelf quickly destabilized and collapsed, falling apart into sea ice. The near-term future of Brunt Ice Shelf likely depends on where the existing rifts merge relative to the McDonald ice ripples. And it's possible that the ice shelf will be destabilized. And here's another video you can watch about it. So I'll leave the link below about that. I think that's interesting. It's right there. And it's going to go right across. So they said in April. Is it already dark there? See, it's hard to get a good day. Here's the Halloween crack here. Can't see the other crack here. Can barely make it out right there. Here it is. Moving across. That's on April the 7th. But it's dark down there now, so if it breaks off in the wintertime, we won't be able to see it until their springtime, till the sun comes up. Okay, so we'll be watching this as soon as the sun starts coming up down in the Antarctic to see what's going on with these cracks on the Brunt Ice Shelf. So now let's just move on to the earthquake report. Oh, we had this is the big news of the day. This big 7.5, it originally was a 7.7 down in Papua New Guinea, and then downgraded to a 7.5, and it was off the coast of New Ireland, Papua New Guinea. This came in at 5:58 this morning, Pacific time. And they had tsunami warning for a while, but then it passed, and it was for the surrounding areas. But the reports I've seen said that there wasn't really damage. I guess because it was in the ocean, then they've had these aftershocks. So I've got a couple of articles to look at about this. First, we're going to look at volcano discovery. Wrong link. I have to find the earthquake now. It's right here. I have to scroll through the list. There it is. Info. They have it listed as a 7.6. Let me get the right link over here. No, it is the right link. Oh, no. Yeah, it was. I don't know what happened. Anyway, this was on Tuesday, May 14th, and they're calling it a 7.6. And it was right down here in the South Pacific. Here's the I Felt It reports. I like reading these. This one was from Kokopo. My dwelling is on 1 meter high posts. At 12:01 p.m., the building I live in shook violently for several minutes. Glasses, food items, etc. all fell off shelves or smashed on the floor. Furniture moved across the wooden floors. Anything leaning against the wall crashed to the floor. Grabbed my computer monitor before it fell off my desk. Power went on and off from our supplier, P&G Power. Quite strong aftershocks for the next hour, strongest I've ever experienced. Here's one from Lahir Island. Very strong shaking. The earthquake was quite shocking yesterday night. We thought something terrible will happen to us, but thank God we were all alive. We had blackouts straight after the earthquake stops. Lahir Island. Micronesia, very weak shaking. Felt the earth was a little bit moving at 2 a.m. Marshall Island time. That's 12 p.m. PNG time, after chatting with my brother at Lahir that he was waken up by sudden earthquake. Ground level house shook, all birds migrating. Duration 3 minutes, no aftershock where I was. That was at Bougainville. Boogatown, Bougainville. Port Moresby, very weak shaking. Felt as though a truck was continuously driving by the area, producing weak vibrations. Went on for almost a minute, and so on. So there are a lot of reports here. You're welcome to come over and see what they say. And I have another article about the earthquake. This is from weather.com. Powerful 7.5 earthquake hits in Papua New Guinea. 28 miles northeast of Kokopo, Papua New Guinea, May 14th, 10:58 p.m. their time. So, let's see. Oh, of course we have an ad. In the meantime, let's read. The tsunami warning was cancelled. No immediate reports of injuries or damage. Guard. Residents in the area reported that the quake shook homes, rattled furniture, knocked items off shelves and tables, and cut off power, according to the news network. Let's see if they're going to show any pictures. Here are the guys talking about it. Here's some pictures. I can't see anything. Anyway. The tsunami alert was issued for Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, but was later cancelled. The epicenter of the quake was about 28 miles northeast of Kokopo and New Britain Providence. The city is on a smaller island northeast of the main island and about 495 miles from the capital of Port Moresby. Sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, named for its active volcanoes and earthquakes. About 90% of the Earth's quakes happen along this 25,000-mile horseshoe that loops from South America to Europe and back down to the coast of Australia. Anyway, and so on. So I'll leave the link below for that. So, let's now get on with our earthquake report. On USGS, we're showing 257 earthquakes in the last 24 hours. Of those, 32 are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So let's see what's about to come off the map. This 2.8 at Willow. That happened last night at 8:01 p.m. Here's a 2.6 Puerto Rico, 2.5 Holtville, California. That's at 9:57 last night. Okay, we're good. So, I'd like to start down here in the Pacific. Well, let's just go ahead and start with this large one. Here are all of these that happened in the same area. There were 6. There was the 7.5, and then a 5.0 at 6:38 this morning. So the 7.5 was at 5:58. So 5.0 at 6:38, 5.0 7:36, 4.7 1:09 p.m., 4.7 5:33 p.m., and 4.7 at 5:42 p.m. Now these times I'm calling out are Pacific time, because that's my time zone. And they defaulted to this 10 kilometers deep. And when that's just kind of the default that USGS uses if they don't know the depth of it. So I don't even say the depth if it says 10 kilometers. I did when I first started doing earthquake reports, but then, 90% of them were 10 kilometers deep. And I'm like, how is this? Then, here's one of note off the coast of the North Island of New Zealand. Was a 5.2 near Gisborne, New Zealand at 4:16 this morning. Not very far off the coast. and right next to this red line. And there's a big methane store underneath there in the seabed. So that probably didn't cause any damage. Then we've got a couple here near Japan of 4.7 at 2:30 this morning, and another 4.7 at 5:59 this afternoon. They're calling these near Chichishima, Japan. They're in the ocean next to that red line. Next, 5.7 near Shikotan, Russia at 1:55 this afternoon. Now this is Japan. This is Hokkaido, Japan. But these islands are part of Russia, so that's why they're calling it Russia. So that was on the red line in the ocean. Next, over here in Greece, we have 2 at 4.4 near Luxorion at 8:07 this morning, and a 4.3 near Gastouni, Greece at 5:02 this afternoon. Now, this one was on land, the second one, but 4.3 is probably not big enough to do any damage, but you'll feel it. And this one was in the water in the Mediterranean Sea, so that didn't do any damage. Now, coming across the Pacific, we have one down here, a 5.0 southeast of Easter Island, right on this red line. This came in at 1:01 this afternoon. And then coming on up, on land at Nicaragua was a 4.5 near Pozoltega, Nicaragua at 9:14 this morning, 151 kilometers deep. Next, out here in the ocean on this red line was a 4.9. The reporting station is Socorro Island, Mexico. This happened at 2:50 this afternoon. Those are all of the international earthquakes. Now let's go to all magnitudes for us to start at Hawaii. Okay, we're showing 4 here today, all near this Kilauea area. Here's a 1.7, 2.0, 2.3, and 1.7. So that's gone down. Now in the Dominican Republic, we have 9 here today. 1.1, 1.5, 0.3, 2.6, 3.4, 2.9, and 1.5, 2.5, and 2.1. That's not enough to cause damage, but it's showing movement. Now in Alaska, we've got 74 here today. Of those, 6 of those are 2.5 magnitude or higher. Here's a 2.8 near Willow. 2.7 Big Lake, that's at Anchorage. 4.5 near Adak, down here. 2.5 Homer, and 2.5 Fish Hook. Where's this one? Here's a 3.2 Haines Junction. That's in Canada. Wonder how I missed that one. Oh, it's up there. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to do that. Now let's take a peek at all magnitudes here in Alaska. We've got a couple more on these little islands. There's a 0.1 near Tanaga volcano and a 1.2 near Tanaga as well. Here's another little one right on land, a minus 0.2 near Akutan. So a little microquake there. And then coming up, here's a 1.9 King Salmon, 1.8 Larsen Bay, and so forth. Here's this Cook Inlet. Right here is Redoubt Volcano. We've got a little cluster here at Anchorage today. We can see them spreading out. These are small. Most of these are like, that's a 2.4, but that's good size. Here's a 2.1, 1.6. So these are 1s and 2s, 1.1 and so forth. Alaska is very active geologically. They have a lot of volcanoes and earthquakes up here. Let's look at Kobuk. There are 13 here today, including these two little ones. These are mainly in the 1s range. 1s and under. So there's Alaska. Now let's come on down to the lower 48. We're going to start with this one in the New Madrid hazard zone. Here's a 1.3 near Tiptonville, Tennessee. Coming on across. Here's 2.5 near Union City, Oklahoma. Now coming on up to Utah. Here's a 2.0 at Milford. Is that it for Utah? Alright. And then the Yellowstone region. Let's see. Whoa. Look at that. We've got a lot here today. Let's start with this one down here. Here's a 2.8 near Montpelier, Idaho. This came in at 4:32 this afternoon. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So we've got 19 in the Yellowstone region today. So that's definitely an uptick. So we've got some larger ones here. Here's a 3.1 at Lincoln. Here's a 2.8 Chalice. And we saw that 2.8 at Montpelier, or however you say it. Here's a 0.2 West Yellowstone, 1.4 Lima, 1.0 Virginia City, 0.6 Lima, 0.9 Salmon. Here's 2. Here's a 1.6 Chalice and a 2.8 Chalice. Sorry about clearing my throat. I went out today and got exposed to stuff I'm allergic to, so it'll take me a day to get over it. So 2.0 magnitude Corey blast near Butte, Montana at 12:02 this afternoon, right on schedule. Here's a 0.7 Clinton, Montana, minus 0.5 Pablo, 0.2 Polson, minus 0.5 Polson. Now let's look at this cluster here at Lincoln. There are 6 here. They're kind of stacked up. 3.1 is the largest one, then a 2.1, 1.7, 1.0, 1.1, and a minus 0.4. Yeah. So definitely increase up there. Now coming into the Pacific Northwest. Let's look at the tremor map, real-time tremor map. In the last 3 hours, they're showing 2.5 hours of tremors. That's a lot of tremors. That's shaking almost the whole time. This is to the west of Salem and to the southwest of Eugene, both in Oregon. In the last 12 hours, that's 5 hours of tremors. Same place. In the last 24 hours, it's 11.9 hours of tremors. And it's the same place. So I'm wondering if this is showing this movement of this Cascadia's subduction zone. I'm seriously wondering that, because it's down here. It's where we're seeing the tremors happen before the earthquakes. Okay, so we're seeing 4 here in Washington, minus 0.1 Morton, and another minus 0.1 Morton. These are at Mount St. Helens. Here's a 1.0 at Prairie Ridge and 1.1 at Packwood. So there's that. And coming on down, let's catch Nevada next. Here's a 1.0 near Portola. We're going to get these on the border too. 2.4 Markleyville. Here's a 0.9 near Lovelock. 1.2 Gabbs. 0.7 Hawthorne. We've got a cluster here of 3 small ones there at Hawthorne. And when we come into southern Nevada, we've got this area here. It looks like we're having an event. Here's a 1.1 Warm Springs, and here's some small ones. But let's zoom in on this cluster. This is Delmar Mountains, so it's near that. Here's Dreamer Valley. Here's Paw Rock Valley. South Paw Rock Range. Here's 8 Mile Valley and Hyco Range. 6 Mile Flat. Here's Alamo. So we're seeing 26 earthquakes here in the last 24 hours, and we've been seeing them here for a while. Here's a 2.6. I'll just call out some of the larger ones. Most of them are in the 1s range. Here's a 2.4, 2.4, 2.4, 2.3, 2.1, and 2.1, and then the rest of them are in the ones range. So these started, this one up here at Caliente was at 1026 last night. That was right at the surface of 0.9. Now these started at Alamo this morning at 6:43, so early in the morning it started. And the last one came in at 5:30 this afternoon. So something's happening there. Now let's catch this east side of California. Here's 3 at Mammoth. They're pretty small. Here's a 1.0 at Big Pine. Here's a 1.1 near Beatty. Here's 15 at Coso Junction, or near it, including this 2.0 near Inyokern. So we've got clustering here, definitely, right at Coso Junction. These are pretty small. Some even, like this is a minus 0.2. Here's a 0.6, 0.7, and so forth. So these are, and then the largest, that's like a 2.7, I mean a 1.7 and 1.3. So definitely movement there. Here's a blast. 2.0 explosion near Sandy Valley, Nevada. That'll get things moving. Here's a 2.5 Holtville. So we can see the earthquake makers are at work today with all the blasts and explosions. Here in Southern California, we have 24 here today, which is a low number. That's a low number. Well, normally we see about 30 to 40 here. And these are ones and under range. 2.5 was the biggest one. Now we're going to come up this. Here's a 1.3 at Bodfish and a 1.2 at Bodfish. Here's a 1.6 Lamont. There's Inyokern. We got that one. 1.7 Button Willow. 2.4 Home Garden. 2.4 Pinnacles. 1.0 Pinnacles. 1.6 Tres Pinos. 1.3 Pacific Grove. Got that. 1.3 magnitude quarry blast at Loyola. Here at the geysers, we've got 31 here today. That's about average, between 25 and 30. 2.0, that looks like one of the larger ones. Most of these are ones and under. Then, a little north of there was a 1.A near Lake Pillsbury. And 1.9 Redwood Valley and 1.7 Redwood Valley. So, I think that's a wrap. See if anything came in that we need to look at. We got the Chickashima. We got those at Papua New Guinea. We got those at Greece. So I think that's a wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And I do believe we are in the end times. It's getting dark. It's going to get darker. And you need the discernment of the Holy Spirit. And if you don't have it, it's going to be awful hard to be able to tell the truth from the lies. So, until next time, God bless everyone. Go in peace, and I'll talk to you soon. Good night.